Okay, lots of progress happening. The bottom end is pretty much ready to go back together. I just need one shim to come into the mail, and I can slap this puppy back together, at least the bottom end. So that'll be a huge step. I had a bit of a fiasco measuring the crank preload, the bearing preload for the crankshaft. So the deal is the crankshaft, which is here, has these shims which go on each end of it, and that controls how much crush basically the two case halves have on the main bearings. So the thicker the shims, the more the crush. I'll go ahead and see, it's the right side, so the splines go up. I'm not going to be able to do this one-handed, am I? So those are the crank bearings. And let's see if I can do this one-handed. Well, I can. Okay. Crankshaft is installed there. So the thicker the shims, the more crush and the more pressure is applied to the crank bearings. And you have to get it just right. The tolerance is within a couple thousandths of an inch. So you have to measure that with some tools. The way I did it was I laid a straight edge across the case halves, and then I took my depth mic and set it to where you can measure the distance there, and then subtract the difference with the ruler, the steel rule here. And I was coming up with strange measurements where I thought the one side had a much thicker shim than the other side. And the old case that I took apart before, the one that was cracked, the original one, had the same size shims left and right. And it just seemed weird that this side, or the new case, took some strange size shims. They come in many different sizes, and I was going to end up needing the thinnest one. So I just kept scratching my head, and I was poking around. And on this side, the left case, I was looking at the opposite side, and so the case is aluminum here, and then there's a steel insert which actually acts as a I'm not sure what you'd call it, but it accepts the actual bearing. This outer piece is pressed in with a really tight press fit on the engine case, and then the bearing itself is pressed into that retainer. So I was looking at it, and it looked like there was a gap. I have a little feeler gauge here, and you could actually stick this feeler gauge in there. You could actually fit a 7/1000ths, I think it was a 7/1000ths feeler gauge. So these are brand new OEM cases from Ducati from Italy. And one of the bearings wasn't pressed in all the way in the retainer. So thank God I caught that, because if I'd put it together with the shims that I'd ended up measuring, because it needs, the spec is about 6 to 8 thousandths of an inch of preload, of crush on those bearings. And if I had put it together the way it was, when the engine heated up, those bearings would have loosened up probably. I would have had no preload, and then the motor probably would have lasted no time before it started making crazy noises. So disaster averted there. So now all I need to do is wait for one shim, which I was able to measure. Now all my measurements make sense. It's only taking one size difference in shim from the original case. So that's great. So I just need one of these shims here, slightly thinner. Transmission, everything fits beautifully. It's ready to go. A little sealant on here. I'll take all the parts. I'm going to bring the crankshaft to my local machine shop no, not so local, but it's a guy I trust. He's about an hour away. And have a fresh polish put on the journal. It doesn't really need it, but why not? It takes 10 minutes. And then I'll put all the rest of the parts in the ultrasonic cleaner, get everything surgically clean. It's amazing how dirty and nasty the cases, these parts come from the factory. They have bearings all pressed and assuming ready to go, but I mean, look at this. That's a machining. That's a chip from when these cases were made. It's actually a metal chip in there. So, I mean, you can't trust any of this. It's got to be taken apart and cleaned really good. And then it'll be ready to go back together. Everything's organized over here. The cylinders, ready to go. Pistons, new pistons. All the internals, oil pump, all the timing gears, the flywheel. All basically just has to be cleaned, which I'm going to use my ultrasonic cleaner that makes it super easy, and they come out perfectly clean. I also got new bearings for the rods. I measured those up, so I actually loosened up the clearance a little bit from the factory spec, because this is probably the biggest weak link in these older Ducati engines. The factory specified a little bit of a tight clearance, assuming for longevity maybe, but most people that you read in articles and online say that loosen up the rod bearings a smidge and they live much better. So I did that. I basically went one step looser with the bearings. And that's pretty much it. You can see my calculation sheet here. I was chasing my tail with that bearing that wasn't pressed in all the way. I was taking so many measurements. They give you instructions in the manual here on how to do it. You know, very good instructions. But without that bearing pressed in all the way, I was just tearing what left of my hair was out. But this center here is what I ended up with, and so it's going together really good. I think the next update will be with the short block all assembled, and I'll be in process of doing the heads. So that's pretty much it. See you next time.